Hello and welcome to our governance panel. We're almost towards the end. Okay. Hello. So this is the governance panel. Thank you for being here and welcome again. So we have with us two very distinguished guests to speak to us about India's growth trajectory. So we have Shri Navneet Kumar Sehgal, sir, who is the chairperson of Prasar Bharati, India's largest public service broadcaster, which employs about 50,000 people. Mr. Sehgal is a former civil servant who has held various positions at different departments in different governments as well, at the state and federal level. So from infrastructure to telecommunications, Mr. Sehgal has done it all and is able to give us a truly pan-governmental view of India's growth. Thank you, Mr. Sehgal. Thank you for being here. We also have Sir Richard Held, the chair of the UK-India Business Council, which is an international trade organization focused on promoting bilateral trade between India and the UK. Before UK IBC, Mr. Held worked as a vice chairman at Rothschild, South and South Asia, where he played companies on capital raisings and inbound M&A. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Held. And I'm going to open with a very broad question. In the current global order, with Mr. T in the White House, where does India see itself on the global scale, and what's its future looking like? Very broad.
I think you read the latest one. I think Mr. Trump has increased the tariff on steel and aluminium from 25 to 50%. That is the latest news I read. But anyway, I'm here, just give me 5 minutes. I'm just here to tell you about the growth story. I know many of the speakers are sitting there. I heard them speaking very good things about India. Some of the shortcomings also they mentioned. I would speak about them a little later. Because I may have a contrary view, I am a practitioner, so I'll give you the information from the ground. So, as you must have heard, we are now the fourth largest economy in terms of GDP. We just last week crossed Japan, and we could be and we would be certainly third largest economy in another 2-3 years' time. We are growing at 6.5% average. Last quarter we grew at 7.4%. So there is a hope that we may start growing at 8%. It's no other economy of that size is growing at that speed. And you must take that. Maybe, it could seem slower to many people, but yeah, if you see the size of the economy, it's mammoth. And if we grow at that point of growth rate, I don't know, we could be the second economy by 2047. That's what we are as a government projecting ourselves to be, the second largest economy in the world. Of course, there are issues, but you must realize that the younger population, there are a lot of aspirations, but there is a lot of fire. There is a lot of fire in their belly, and I was listening to the other gentleman saying that professor from MIT hired kids from Jaipur and got their solutions. There is a need to engage. I'm here basically to put across the ground situation, which many of you may not have been aware of, may not be able to access to that. As I already said, we are now the fourth largest economy in terms of infrastructure. We are number one in the rail network in Asia. We are number two in road network globally. And in terms of port handling, we are number fourth handling capacity by 2047. We have the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And many unicorns are turning out from there. We are now concentrating on renewable energy, and at this time we have almost 46% our total capacity, almost 203 gigawatt from renewable resources. Similarly, what is happening? This is the achievement for last 10 years. We were 11th largest economy in terms of GDP in 2014. Now we are the fourth, and we are aiming to be third, and then, of course, if the same momentum continues, aiming to be the second largest. Because, one, there is a political stability for last 10 years, and that's the main important thing which is pushing the growth engine. But simultaneously, there are reforms. There are reforms in terms of ease of doing business. There is reforms in terms of adopting technology. Just only one example I'll give you. I was hearing, Professor, about the UPI. You know, it's percolated down to the ground in such a way that even a small grocer who sells coconut water, he has a QR code on his, cart. You can pay by UPI to even that, for even a small coconut seller. And I find I travel a lot. I'm coming here and then going to US. I find it difficult many times in Europe and other countries paying digitally. A record 54 crore. That's around 5.4 billion accounts have been opened. You see, I remember I attended a program by Royal Institute of Public Administration here in London a few years ago, and there I found that the government had outsourced the pension system and other social security systems to private companies. It was, I think, around 20 years ago I came here once. So I was surprised, as I said, how can that be? How can you throw the social security system to private players? Because they will always look for profit. Sorry, there are many of them here. So, but what we have done is, digitally, all the social securities payouts are now transferred to their accounts digitally. No interface in between, no second party or third party. And top of it, and then the poor person in a village, when he gets that money transferred to his account, he gets an SMS on his phone that your money has reached your account. How happy you would be. But what it has done is, it has, one, given a financial inclusion to a lot of people, majority of people. Simultaneously, what it has done is, it has given the digital footprints to the last mile. And with such a large population, it is a humongous task. That is one of the revolutions that I want to tell you. And we are now going to be 1 trillion digital economy by 2026. You must have heard Mr. Trump saying that Apple should not manufacture iPhones in India. We are going to be the largest mobile exporters in the world. So, in terms of sheer size of the economy, in terms of technology, we are there. Obviously, and of course, with large population, there are challenges. And I said earlier, we are the fastest growing large economy. And our working population, the average age is around 28, and it is not going to grow much. It is going to go up to 28.2 in another 5 to 7 years. So this demographic dividend is going to be there. It's better that, I hope the world is realizing the potential of India. And we are all neutral. We are not with any part of the world, so-called. That be, as I was listening to my friend, and that we have shown recently. We've shown recently whatever amount of aggression anybody shows, and with whatever backings they have, we have the strength and we have our own. Another thing that you may miss is the domestic defense capabilities that India is producing. The supersonic missile, the air defense system, which is domestically designed and domestically produced, is helping the country to, we have a big program called Self-Reliant India. There we are working on getting these technologies, particularly everywhere, wherever possible, defense sector as well, to create an independent ecosystem. create an ease of doing business. The government has done a lot of reforms in corporate taxes. One of the lowest corporate tax. We have the lowest income tax rate in the growing economies. So this is the few things I just wanted to brief before I take questions. But one of the most consistent things is the last 10 years there has been stability, political stability. Three things that I just noticed in my earlier speakers. One is that unemployment rate is not 50%. I'm sorry, I can challenge anybody. I can, give facts. It's not 50%. There is an unemployment. I agree. It's not 50%. To counter that, a massive skill improvement, skill development program, simultaneously enjoined with a self-employment financing program, so that people can pick up skills, get into self-employment, and then do smaller businesses, smaller industry, MSME and all those stuff, because they are the ones who generate more employment than the bigger, large industries. So that thing is there. And I was listening to Professor, I don't know what concept of, there is no issue with civil society. I don't find any issue. I can engage in a conversation or a discussion with anybody that there is any issue with civil society in India. I don't know why we have such impressions here. I have an experience of more than 35 years of working with different political parties, different political setups. But saying that there is an issue with civil society is too much. But anyway, I am...
Mr. Sehgal, if we could actually hear what the UK has to say about it as well, that would be great.
And now I was just talking to him, with the UK-India free trade agreement, there's a lot of potential. Our trade with the UK was is touching almost 60 billion, and the target is to reach 100 billion. And I felt I must share the experience with you. I've been traveling to UK many times, and I saw the difference of FTA. Maybe, I don't know, it could be coincidental. It took me just, say, 5-7 minutes at the immigration counter. He just saw my passport. He says, okay. Earlier, last time when I came, I used to, I had to tell him, okay, I'm staying at this place, why I'm coming here, why I'm doing this. A lot of questions being asked. This time I know they didn't ask me any such questions. They just saw my visa and said, okay, fine. So one of the important things that is going to happen is free movement of people, which is very important. A lot of students come here, a lot of technology people come here and go back with the benefits and go back and help the government, help the society, help the private enterprise to grow. And that is going to go higher. And of course, Scotch whiskey. There is a saying that the amount of Scotch whiskey that is drunk in India is beyond the manufacturing capacity of whole Scotland. So there is a huge demand for Scotch whiskey, and I hope with automobile and other sectors chipping in there, the trade is going to be good. And it will help both ways. I don't say that UK needs India more. Both of them, they need each other.
And on equally. Keeping those high spirits up, if you get the pardon, I would really like Mr. Hill to have the stage as well. The stage is yours.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today. I have to confess that I'm an alumni of Oxford. and I was actually invited by my rector to attend APES, Saturday of APES week, which, as you know, is going on at the moment. So I've been sitting there with my app, looking at the live feeds of the rowing races. But your persuasion made me to cancel that invitation and attend this one. Look, my view is that this is India's century. It's your century. But it's a very confusing one at this present moment in time, not least because of the current incumbent in the White House. we are looking at a changing dynamic in terms of governance within the world. We're moving from a unipolar world, which is dominated by the United States, to a multipolar world. We heard from James Crabtree this morning in relation to the rules-based system, and he described it as finished. I kind of disagree with him. I just think that in 3 or 4 years' time, it's going to be very difficult to put the genie completely back in the bottle. But nonetheless, there are significant changes that are taking place. And we do have to ask ourselves, is this operating against the background of a erosion in the multilateral systems that we've had in the past? And I think that is certainly a question that we should all be asking. The United Nations, WTO, World Bank, even EU to a certain extent, you are seeing an erosion in the effectiveness of such institutions. And it's against this background that India has to navigate its way to its rightful place. At the same time, we are faced with a unique situation which nobody today has discussed, and I was surprised that James didn't mention it, and that is China's decline in its population. How, for the first time in history, we're going to have a major economy having to navigate a decline of up to 50% in its population in the coming decades. So this is a really difficult situation, and I don't have an answer, all right? So that's the start of 10. But what I do think we're going to see, and what I think India will participate and benefit in, is moving to what I would call a mini-lateral or an issue-based collaborations going forward. We're already seeing that in the Quad, where India is a major participant. We're seeing it in the way that it is looking at adapting its strategic autonomy policy. And we're seeing it in the way that it addressed these issues, and it addressed how it managed the chairmanship of the G20. So already it is addressing the changes that are happening in the governance situation. And these questions that are being posed to India and India is having to adapt to are exactly the same questions that the UK is also having to achieve, but for different reasons. Ours is how do we navigate and increase our relevance in a post-Brexit environment. What we are seeing in terms of UK-India relationship is a strengthening of that relationship. And we've seen that in the agreement that has been made earlier this month in relation to the FTA. We've seen it in relation to the technological security initiative that was inked in July of last year, which focuses on cybersecurity, quantum, these sorts of collaborations. We're seeing it in a 2x2 defense pact that has been signed between our two nations, looking at defense and aerospace, which, as you said, is absolutely critical to both our countries in terms of security. And so there are multiple strands that we are seeing, and I think that bilateral dialogue is the way forward, and we will see those going forward into the future.
So the FTA is obviously really important. I was working at the British High Commission, and we know for a fact that every Diwali they would say, okay, this Diwali FTA is going to be out. And then it came on a very...
for the last many years they've been working on it, and we are very happy that we could do that. And
if I can tell you a story, about 10 days ago, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, maybe it was, time flies when you're enjoying yourself, but I hosted an event with Minister Goyal in London.
Came here,
And there was a huge expectation that the FTA was going to be agreed. I received a WhatsApp telling me that the planned roundtable with the Minister or the Secretary of State for Trade and Industry has been shifted from his department to number 10. I then got an email saying, would I mind cameras being in the room? I thought, this is it, we're on. We all turned up at number 10, only to be told that it wasn't happening. I then was at a breakfast on the Tuesday afterwards, and I told the people in the breakfast that, negotiations were still going on. I left that breakfast, I was walking back to my office, I looked at my WhatsApp, and there was a final press release, embargo to 2:30. So clearly, a lot of effort had been put into that. 14 rounds, 26 chapters, and it is an extremely good agreement. It is comprehensive, maybe not totally comprehensive, but it is comprehensive, and it means that our two nations will benefit from somewhere in the region of $25 billion uplift in trade, in bilateral trade by 2040. There are significant clausings in there in relation to Scotch whisky. In fact, Scotch whisky is going to be cut, the duty is going to be cut by 50%, and then it's going to be cut to 40% subsequently. But more importantly, and this is, I think, something that we all ought to bear in mind, is that 79% of the Scotch whisky that is imported from Scotland into India comes in bulk. And why is that important? Because that is the feed for domestic whisky production. And it's all about technology transfer. That is the key thing. Other areas that are tremendously important is obviously tariff elimination. Both our countries are going to eliminate somewhere in the region of about 90% of tariffs on imports that they receive from the other country over the next 5 years. We're also going to see the ability for UK companies to participate in the procurement programs in India. So universally across the piece, there is a huge amount of benefit and a result that has gone into an awful lot of hard work from the Indian negotiating team and from the UK negotiating team.
So I'm conscious of time, and I do want to take questions as well. So I'm just going to ask one last question. For those companies who are here or students who are here and who want to work in the government or in trade policy or want to negotiate with the government as a company, do you have any sort of tips for them? Do you have any kind of advice for them on how do you go about that?
Sorry, sir.
Yeah,
please.
You can
No.
Please.
No.
You see, I come from a town where you say first, please.
All right.
See, Lucknow is famous for this culture.
Lucknow is a very beautiful town.
Yeah. So first you, and then I.
All right, thank you. The first is enjoy yourself, because this is a unique time which will never be repeated for yourself. The second is intellectual curiosity. Don't get hidebound by what other people tell you. Think about what you want. The third is ambition. As I said, this is your century. Grasp it.
See, as I was mentioning, we have the third largest startup ecosystem. See, we are the largest consumer market in the world now. And with rising income, see, we are now seeing, as I forgot to mention, that more than 17 million people have been brought out of poverty. That's World Bank's report. I'm not saying, neither the government is saying. So there is a huge middle income group which is very aggressive, which is very ambitious, which is coming out. So, and the other thing is that we have, because of the large population, we have large volume of operations. So we need AI, Gen AI in many of the day-to-day activities of the government, of the society. So there is a huge scope for technology. Simultaneously, private businesses are flourishing. Government is spending a lot on public infrastructure. In fact, the growth is basically, being increased because of the large spending on the public infrastructure. As I was telling you, we are on a very large scale. Government is spending on railway network, on the highways network, on the port network, on the modernization of the airports and all. So there's going to be huge demand for private investment. And I was talking to a few of your students. You won't get that kind of ROI anywhere in the world except in India. And when you get a stable political environment, get stable stability in policies, you will get certainly good returns in all the infrastructure projects. And there, obviously, you as a consultant or to many of the big houses of the world could help them, could guide them to invest in India. And these are the two sectors which are going to be a kind of sunshine sectors, and there you should be concentrating on. So there is a huge potential.
Absolutely, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. But any questions?
Yeah,
anyone?
Anybody
Yes.
can. Yeah.
I'm guessing quite a few. Sure.
Oh, hold on.
Wow. Will you speak in the box?
Thank you both so much for your time today. My question is for Mr. Sehgal mainly, because when you're part of the Prasar Bharati board, you have access to narrative control, and as India goes towards becoming one of the most dominant countries in terms of development and progress, I think part of the battle to get there is also controlling media narrative. And with the current conflict and everything going on, it has been important for media to have a role in terms of making sure the facts are out there and people believe it. But at the same time, when we live outside India, we are not sure what to really rely on. So my question to you is, as we go on into careers in governance, media, and economics, for example, what are some things we should think about in terms of addressing careers in media, or making sure that we are part of spreading true facts being associated in the Indian media landscape?
Oh, thank you. You see, we are the independent national broadcaster. So whatever we dish out is based on facts, truth. We don't go haywire, we don't go here and there. There is a huge scope for media narratives. And I find in many of the, that is why I made it a point to come here and address, because I find the perception outside is not as it should be. So there is a point of, and there is a need for creating a correct media narrative. Sadly, because of, we don't control digital media as many other countries may be doing it. So that way we are more democratic than anybody else there. So you get plenty of stuff on YouTube, on personal YouTubes. You have to understand the geopolitical pressures on creating media narrative. I am saying globally, not domestically. Domestically as well. Because I find, some of the independent, so-called independent media journalists dishing out narratives, their clientele is mostly based out of India, and mostly such countries which don't have good relations with India. So that shows that there is a particular emphasis or the strategy of those countries to give a wrong narrative to the world. But there is a huge market for correct and true media narrative. And people now, they are realizing that all these, many of the private channels and the YouTube channels, they dish out not correct facts, not at all. We were looking at, I was watching that India's offensive against Pakistan, and suddenly at night I saw a television showing, a channel showing that Indian forces have reached Islamabad. I was shocked. What is this? Since, I don't know, I feel that we are more democratic in that sense that we didn't do anything about that channel. Because, how can you show kind of so untruth stories and then, get away with it? But that is there, you have to accept it. And there is a good career in media. And people, as technology is reaching the last corner, people are not getting hooked onto. And with I think we have the largest number of smartphones in the country, and on smartphone everything is available. And I tell my people also that, you see, in 5-10 years to come, nobody will watch television. Everything will be available on your smartphone. We have just launched an OTT network. It is available here also. It's, I would suggest, if you want to go through a correct and right perspective about the country, you should download that OTT app, Waves PB. It is free of cost, no charge. And it will give you entertainment as well as news. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you so much. It's already...
I wanted to ask some question.
So sorry. It's
sure.
4:45. Yeah. I'm just really conscious that we all sort of promised to be here till 4:45 and we're almost on time.
No problem.
So, but if there is a question for Mr. Held as well, so that we can just, and then we can catch up.
So when I graduated business school back in 08-09, the Tata Group was heavily investing in the UK, and I think at one point it was the UK's largest employer, obviously in the back of Tata Steel, Jaguar, Land Rover. Since then, we haven't seen deals of those types in the UK, Indian companies investing. And on the flip side, if I look at my career in financial services, a number of UK entities, think Legal & General, Standard Life, have actually pulled out of the Indian market. So my question is, can the trade deal be a reset to kind of see those large sort of transformational deals come from both sides of the market? And I had a more personal question to Mr. Sehgal, where you can choose not to answer. You talked about low taxes, right, and India as a tax jurisdiction. Is there anything the UK's broadcaster can learn from India in terms of eliminating effectively what is a high tax license fee?
We don't charge any license fee.
If I can answer, I somewhat dispute what you're saying, if I may. The first point is that India is consistently the second largest FDI investor in the UK, and the UK is one of the largest FDI investors in India. If you want to quote a deal, then 24.5% of BT was purchased by Sunil Bharti Mittal last year. I can't remember exactly how much he paid for it, but it was a not insignificant number north of $3-4 billion. So, and in relation to investments into India, yes, you're right that certain of the insurance companies have withdrawn. In terms of actual money into India, what you've got to realize is a lot of the dividends that are earned by the large number of UK companies, and there are 600-700 of them in India, are actually a redeployment, reinvestment of dividends that are actually generated in India. That's the most tax efficient way to do it. So I think that there is very significant flows between the two, but I would also say, are there opportunities that we can be doing? Absolutely. Defence and aerospace is a real area that is being examined by both countries where we have benefits. Quantum is another area that we are looking at very closely. Drone technology, low-level satellites, these are all technological areas where there are capabilities, upstream capabilities in the UK, and demand within within India. So there are areas of collaboration.
I must tell you our model. You see, Prasar Bharati is an organization. We run almost 36 channels in different languages apart from Hindi and English. And we run 58 radio stations, covering the entire country. But to earn our bread, we run a DTH network. DTH network is, I don't know what is here, but Tata Sky, as you may say, similar to that, bigger than that. Many people, they don't know much about it. But we earn a revenue of almost 1,000 crores from there annually, from that DTH network. Then we now have launched our OTT platform. So unlike BBC, we are getting into such future-oriented activities where we are going to stay relevant and make money.
Thank you.
So I have many questions for you as well, but I think I'll start with a thank you for being here so much. And it's a great honor to be here on stage with both of you. But we're really, I think, short on time right now. So we're going to do a thank you. Does that mean right now? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've tried Sarvam. But they failed. But now I have a few kids who are doing a very good job. They are converting, we need to convert